Bianca yelled a while ago. I'm like,
Good afternoon, colleagues. I trust you're able to hear me.
Yes, I'm here in Karif, Mr. Khan.
Okay,
Good,
great.
good evening.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. We are going to begin this afternoon's session. Firstly, I would like to welcome you to the session this afternoon. Our aim this afternoon is to have a two-in-one session So the first part of the session will be looking at engaging some of our AGRE members on their respective journeys. And our intention is for this part of the session to be as organic as possible so that we can have a conversation. The second part of our session, we will be having a Lyme where we get to know each other a bit more as AGRE members. So welcome again. I am hoping that you will enjoy this afternoon's session. It is going to be somewhat of an informal session based on the nature of it, because we want to engage you in conversation. This afternoon, or before I introduce my panelists this afternoon, if you're just joining us, or if you're joining us for the very first time, my name is Karif Clark, and I am the serving president of the Association of Graduate Researchers in Education. I am supported by a dynamic and supportive team of executive members, Ruth Ann Edwards being the vice president, Dr. Carmel Roof and Mr. Miguel Eisen, who are our advisors from the School of Education. We have our treasurer, which would be Denise Lloyd, and she's supported with an assistant treasurer, who is Sharika Hunter. We have our PROs, Shanique and Elsa. Our treasurers. Did I say treasurers or did I say secretary earlier?
Say treasurer.
I said treasurer earlier.
Right, earlier.
Please forgive me. So our treasurers are Georgia Green and Marcia Thomas. Our secretaries are Denise Lloyd and Sharika Hunter. So we're supported, the AGRE is supported by this dynamic team. Again, welcome if you're joining us for the very first time. Please forgive me if you see me looking to my left and to my right. I'm using 3 devices for this session because, of course, technology is what it is. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't work so well. But welcome to this session, and I think we can get started this afternoon. So as was said, we will focus primarily for the first half of this session on a conversation, and we would like to engage you as much as possible. So feel free at any point to share your thoughts, to put a note in the chat or a question, or to use the raise hand feature. We will be monitoring those. So this afternoon, we are joined by 3 of our members, and you will see that our members, in terms of their experiences range. First, we have Mr. Adlai Lewis. Mr. Adlai Lewis is an AGRE member. He's a current student at the University of the West Indies, and he is pursuing a Master of Education degree in Educational Leadership and Management. We have a graduate of the UA as well, Camille Clark. She completed her master's degree and she pursued a degree in curriculum and instruction. And we have Mr. Joseph Mackenzie, who is a teacher educator and AGRE member, who is here with us, and he pursued a doctoral degree in teacher education. So I will be engaging these panelists this afternoon for them to share with us what their experiences have been like on their respective journeys. They would have presented at research conferences, they have published, or some have published already. And we want to share tips with you because we know sometimes research itself can be daunting, or you can have a fear of actually engaging or submitting an abstract for publication or even for presentation. And so we thought it fit to engage our AGRE members to help you to overcome those barriers that you may see or that you may perceive that you have. So welcome to my panelists this afternoon. Are you all with me?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm here, Mr. Clark.
Hi, Mr. Lewis.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Camille. And Joseph is here as well. All right, great. All right, so first I would like to start with you, Joseph. Having almost completed your doctoral degree, if you could just share with us in a nutshell what it has been like for you to have accomplished such a feat.
Okay, all right. Good evening again, everyone. Well, I can tell you that the feeling now is much better than all those years working on this, on this project. It has been a great journey. It has been a good journey. It's a bittersweet journey at times, but I can tell you that at this time, I am feeling far better than maybe a year or maybe a year ago or even 6 or 7 months ago. Now I am actually closing everything. I'm at the final leg of the journey. Just looking at some corrections and trying to see how best I can make sure that I submit by the end of next month or even by the end of this month.
Okay.
To make the corrections.
Okay, thank you for that. And of course, we're wishing you all the best and we're supporting you on your journey.
Yes,
But
thank
before I
you
go
very
to
much.
the other panelists, in a nutshell, do you have any regrets so far pursuing a doctoral degree or pursuing research?
Well, no, the journey has been very good. As long as you have a supervisor and colleagues who are always there and who is always there to support you. And I think that is one of the things that actually helped me along the journey. My supervisor is always there. Whenever there's conferences or anything that you can share, what is it that you are doing? She always encourage to try and see how best you can fit yourself into these things. Also, what helped me a lot is the presentations at the University of the West Indies when it comes on to our graduate research seminars. Those, when you present or when you hear other persons present, you know exactly what are the gaps you may have in your research, and you get to look at them and to look at them carefully because you have persons who will encourage you to say, Joseph, let me tell you something though, it's not everything that you can listen to because you can't make correction to everything. You just have to make sure that you're on target with your supervisor and you are doing your readings and you try to one of the good things for me is that the group of girls that I was with, because if the female, would always encourage. One thing I know I can tell you about the females will always encourage. If they're not hearing from you, they will call, or if they are reading and they find articles that really support what is it that you are doing, they will shoot it off to you. So if you don't have a critical friend along this journey, trust me, one of the good things about AGRE is that you people you are in research and you are getting that follow-up and that help. And I believe that maybe we need to extend this to all graduate students, the AGRE to all graduate students, because if you don't have the support, I know of some very good candidates who are in the PhD program and they just, they drop out and you ask them why. Sometimes because they believe that the journey sometimes is too long, because the journey can be long at times and it can be very lonely. It can be very lonely, especially sometimes when you get back the chapters, especially get back chapter 1 sometime 30 times and you don't know exactly what to do because you think you get this thing right and then you get it back again to look at it again. And another thing where the journey sometimes can be long is that because your supervisor can only guide you, they can't do the work for you. They are only there to guide you. And when they read and ask you, what do you mean? And if you can't justify what is it that you are doing, you just have to look at it again. And those are some of the things that that I've tossed up with, especially when it comes on to the research technique or the research journal that you want to use, and you don't know exactly. You have to read all of them. You have to go through author ethnography. You have to go through phenomenology. You have to look at ethnography. You have to look at grounded theory. You have to look at the historical, the narrative. You have to look at all of them to find out which of the technique or the genre that your research really focus on before you can really sit down and really, you know, conceptualize what or make that framework of what is it that you're about. Because the justification part of it, especially the methodology section of the research and the conceptual framework, those are areas that you have to really spend a lot of time to look at carefully. Some persons would talk about, take for instance, the positionality of the research in terms of whether you're looking at it from a constructivist point of view or the post-positivist and all of those. But to me, every aspect of the research is important, every single aspect. And I believe that if I had not gone to some of these conferences overseas, or the ones that you are at the UER, and to engage in some of these biannual conferences at UWF, I don't think I would have reached this far. Because especially when it comes on to, take for instance, the coding method, that was one of my biggest issue, to code the material.
Before you get to the coding, Joseph, so if I may recap in a nutshell, pretty much. So you're saying, for example, there are areas of your journey that were critical for you, which would be having a critical friend or support group.
Right. Yes, you need that.
You're also saying that the experience or the exposure to conferences or seminars, they're helpful, or they were helpful on your journey as well. And you're saying too that the delving into the research methodology and stuff like that, those were areas that you had to work on. I'm going to ask you to expound on one of those areas shortly, but before I do that, let me bring in Camille. Camille, you're online with us, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Camille. Yes. What about you, Camille? How has it been for you? So we know that Joseph is completing the doctorate. What has it been like for you on your research journey?
All right. So and it's really funny. My whole journey with research and AGRE actually started after I finished my master's. So, and I must say, all of that started presenting at conferences. Well, I only presented at one, the one we had in November. My supervisor, Dr. Ferguson Murray, she sent me the flyer and said, you know, hey, Camille, I think you should. And at first, honestly, I was a bit, you know, skeptical. And I said, you know what, it's Dr. Ferguson, anything for Dr. Ferguson. so I submitted, and then submitted the abstract. And then I got an email, and when I looked down to the end and I saw Dr. Roof's name, I said, oh my goodness, I felt like I was set up, because Dr. Roof is another lecturer. Yes. So, and my experience presenting was, I was really nervous. I'm going to admit that I was physically ill some days before. But, you know, I think that was because, and I know some of us here are like that, and we may not know, or we may not want to admit, we're a bit of, we're perfectionists, and we believe that, you know, if we are not going to put down something good, we have ridiculously high standards for ourselves sometimes. And, you know, if we don't put down something good, that's fantastic, it's not worth putting down on paper. So we never start anything. We have it all in our head, and we never, you know. So for me, I was so worried, you know, this needs to be perfect. It needs to be done in this way and that way. But I managed, and I did, and I am so happy I participated. I'm always up for new challenges and not just because of a challenge, but to learn something new. You know, you always learn something new. As researchers, we have to be able to, or be willing to glean new knowledge from anywhere, not just other person's research, but from nature. We look at ants and we can learn to put down something for a rainy day from them. You know, we need to be just like that. So I think my journey has just begun, so to speak, and I look forward to presenting more and participating more. And I just hope I get to meet more like-minded researchers along the way.
Great. Thank you, Camille. And let's bring in Adlai at this point. So as you are seeing colleagues, we have researchers or colleagues who are at different levels. So Joseph, as we are seeing, is at the PhD level. Camille completed the master's and she decided to engage with us here at AGRE to bolster her own strengths, her own dispositions as a researcher. And we have Adlai, who is a student at UWI, and he's a member of AGRE. So Adlai, what has your research journey been like so far?
Thank you, Kerry. It's my research journey. It is a bit of a rocky one, but I must admit that it's one that is fulfilling. And I say it's a rocky one because I do not consider research as my strong suit. And that was part of the reason for me to join AGRE, because I really wanted to sharpen my research skills and to be better at it. I believe that research is fundamental in my capacity as a school administrator. And so I need to refine those skills so that I'll be able to be more effective in my role once and to, of course, impact stakeholders, customers, primary customers of the school. So it was a bit rocky because first and foremost, I am coming from a science background mostly. And so I don't know if you are fundamentally familiar with doing chemistry and biology and physics. You just work with your formulas and you're good to go. Now I find that I have to expand myself. I have to expand, I have to explain, and more importantly, I have to do in-depth research to theorize and to come up with a theoretical framework. And it's not easy, but it's when you get it in the end, it's really fulfilling. And so I would describe my journey as those two things so far.
Okay. And before I return to the other two panelists, so Adlai, you presented at a conference, at our conference last year in November, and you looked at, you presented a study that looked at student engagement. Could you explain to us the feelings that you had submitting for the conference? The feeling that you had when you got a response to present at the conference, and in a nutshell, what was it like presenting at the conference?
First of all, I needed a boost of confidence to present at the conference, and I found it in an AGRE member, and he of course encouraged me to go ahead, and my topic is quite interesting, because I wanted to look at student engagement and how it is online and how it is linked to academic performance. And in submitting, Dr. Roof, I believe, was a person that responded to me. And as Camille said, it's so intimidating. Dr. Roof is responding, and it really allowed me to, in doing the abstract and so on, I had to go through and make sure, is this really making sense? And you read and reread, and you're taking out words and you're putting in, you're substituting and so on, because you just want to ensure that you keep a certain standard. When I got the response that I'd be presenting at the conference, I was like, how did this happen? I just tried, why are they doing this to me? Couldn't they wait and say, try again next year? And from then on, I just kept putting myself in the frame of mind that, I'm going to give it my best shot. I don't know how well I did, but I tried my best. I was nervous because it was my first time. I watched keenly as the presenters went before me, what they did, what they didn't do, and how they interacted with the persons on the platform. I think it would have been a little bit easier if it was face to face, honestly. But online, virtual space, I think it was a little bit more challenging reading the room and knowing if you're coming across to your audience. So that was my experience that I'm presenting.
Okay, thank you, Adlai. And Camille, you have presented at a conference that we had last year. You indicated as well that it was your first conference, but you have also published online. Could you tell us what those experiences were like, having presented at a conference and having published online?
All right, so the publication that Karif is referring to is a blog post. I did it in collaboration with National Geographic Education. Before I say anything further, Adlai, I love that you mentioned that you are from a science background. I think Nat Geo Ed would love to hear from you as well. So, right, so you know, I love to do courses. I like to collect them, the certificates. So I did a few courses on Nat Geo, their education website, and they had reached out to me and asked me to write an article for them. You know, we didn't have anything concrete about the topic or so, and I mentioned that I'd be presenting my research, and they say, hey, you know, that's something good that we could do. We could look at that. So it was basically about my journey with climate change. That's what my research topic was about. It looked at how I got into it, how the presentation went, what actions I took. So starting out, I remember learning about climate change in high school, and my dad is pretty stern, and he's here. Good evening, Daddy. I see you. And he said, so, you know, what it is that, what you're going to do at university? And I said, well, I know geology is one, and I'm going to do something in climate change because it's going to be a big thing in the future, and they're going to want persons who know about it. So, you know, it basically started there. I learned about it as much as I can. I even took steps to become a part of the solution. I took my little self to the VDTI where I learned to install solar panels, you know, things like that. So it was basically about how doing the course, and I should say that doing the climate change course, teaching climate change on Nat Geo website, that is what inspired me to do my final project in climate change. It looks at the experiences of social studies teachers teaching global climate change.
Okay, thank you so much, Camille. And
Sure.
to bring back Joseph, your area of specialization is teacher education. Could you just share with us why you decided to venture into that realm or to that area in terms of research?
Okay. I have been a teacher educator for 20 years now, going 20 years, going 21. And therefore, when I think when I started the master's in about 2000 or so, I completed about 2002 or 2003 at that time. And it took me a while to move on to the PhD area. You know, I was out there doing many other things before I actually go back to study. And I wanted to look at the area of not teacher education at the time when I had applied, but I wanted to look at some of the street children. How is it that teachers really engage these students when they come back from, you know, working in the market or out for a time on the farm? And I think that was the area that I want to look at. And Dr. Gentle said to me that, you are in teacher education. What are some of the gaps that you have out there? Why is it that you want to focus on the teacher and not the teacher educator? And Dr. Newman, I'd shared similar sentiment to say that, Joseph, why is it that you now want to go back to look at something in schools? Look at what is happening in the colleges. And I started to look at the mentorship and induction for the teacher educator. And so my first presentation at my first international conference, I look at a paper in terms of mentorship and induction for the teacher educator, because I believe that that was a big issue for me when I went into the college. I was not mentored. There was no formal induction program. You were just thrown into something like that. However, throughout the journey, after looking at that, that was really not the problem. Although that was aspect of that was really, you know, things that happen in terms of one element of what happened out there. And we look at it again, we look carefully at it, you know. I ask question, and to tell you the truth, this was really a uphill task for us to look carefully at the different issues, because there were so many issues within the that as problem statement, reteacher education. And when we were doing the courses itself, and I was doing the courses, then I now start to look more deeply at the theories. And at that point, I now change my old thinking, looking at the transitioning of how I transitioned from teacher to teacher educator. And that was where, you know, the journey began to look at exactly something in teacher education.
Okay, all right. So I have a question then for all three panelists as it relates to the response coming from Joseph and Camille in terms of the last question that I asked. Have you been able to discover yourselves more on this journey? Because when Camille spoke, she spoke about her background, what she liked. Joseph, you're talking about your experiences in terms of understanding education, but as it relates to the teacher and moving towards what you are doing in terms of your day-to-day job. Have you all three discovered more or learned more about yourself as individuals and as researchers? And how would you describe that discovery?
All right, for me, I can tell you that because in research itself, if you are not immersed into the research, you will not see that change. You have to own the research. You have to be a part of it. Let me tell you something. I am throughout the journey, I discover a lot of things. And sometimes when I talk about these things, people want to know if I am crazy or something like that. Because at some point in the research, in the world of the research, I will tell you that I will have some things in my hand and walk in the entire campus looking for the things that I have in my hand. Because of, you know, the research itself take you to some, it brings some things out of you that you never know that you could have done. And for me, I can tell you that I was a very shy person when it comes on to talk. And even at the conferences that I have presented, I don't know how I really did them, because I was a very shy individual. If it comes on to just talking wildly, fair enough. But when it comes on to the presentation itself, if you ask me to do a presentation, it's one of the worst things you can ever ask me to do, because I will say to you no. But because Dr. Gentles always, Mr. Mackenzie, there's a conference going on XYZ. I want you to submit an abstract for me. And you don't know how to say no. I just don't know how to say no. So that no, give me the chance to look at it and to think about it and to write something and then shoot it to her, and she would say to me that, well, fair enough, but look back at it again. She always have that, look back at it again. So, you know, you have to go again and look at it again with a more critical eye and then come back with something. And I guess that aspect of it comes out, you know, that shyness comes out of me. I know the PhD help you to be more confident, I think. And you're now more confident. People look at you, and not only people look at you, you know how to hone the craft that you have. Anybody can call on you to say that, explain something to me in terms of that. And because of your reading, and the reading has to be you read very wide, you now know exactly how to articulate yourself based on what is it that you have done. So I
Okay.
guess it helped me to come out of my shell and to, you know, to interrogate the literature more, to look at the literature more critically when I'm, you know, not only from the point of view of surface reading, but to look at it from a deeper level.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Okay.
Camille, what about you? Self-discovery, and to what extent?
All right. Well, for me, like Joseph said, it brings you to, it takes you down, it breaks you right down, and it exposes you to what you are really capable of. Research is something, the process itself, we are here, we know that it can be tedious. And I would encourage researchers, it has, if you are going to be going down this road, it has to be something that you are passionate about, something that you have a childlike curiosity and wonder. Joseph said that he's extremely shy. I don't think he can be worse, you know, than me. But when it comes on to something that I am interested in, which is climate change, I will not stop talking. So, you know, it will, that passion and that curiosity you have for whatever it is that you're going to research about, it will trump the difficulties with the process itself. It will take away the shyness, and you will not believe what you are capable from. So you are capable of, sorry. So you have to have that childlike curiosity, that wonder. For me, with climate change, all my courses that I've been doing, if I had an assignment to do and I could choose the topic, I would wiggle climate change there. I would wiggle it in anywhere because I know I'm interested in that. I will do that. So that's my that's how I discovered myself, and that is something I want to leave with persons here today. Ensure that you have that childlike curiosity, the wonder, and the passion for whatever it is that you want to research.
Okay. Thank you, Camille. Adlai, self-discovery on this journey as a researcher.
Yes, thank you, Kerry. It's important to note that the journey still continues, still learning, still so much to learn. I think somewhat in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, you know, this is a craft. This is something I want to hone. I want to hone this craft. I want to conquer my fears. I want to overcome my challenges when it comes on to research. And I believe that if I can do that, if that can be done, then there is a whole horizon out there. There's so much to discover. There's so much to achieve with these skill sets. There are persons around me that I can also influence to assist and to partner with, to do research, education-based research here on the grounds, here in the field. And so I want to be at a place that I can offer that kind of guidance. I can also impact their research skills. And so for me, self-discovery is all about developing, growing, and then impacting others. So going along this journey, as I said, it's rough, it's not an easy one, but I am willing and I am definitely going to be putting out the effort to learn as much as I can. That's where I'm at this time.
Okay, thank you, Adlai. Now I'm going to open to the audience. If you have any specific question for any of the panelists, feel free to use the raise hand feature or to use a chat. While I look for those hands going up, I'll just go to the chat to see what has been posted. Shanique is saying, way to go, Adlai. AGRE is a great place to foster research skills, and the faculty advisors are stars. Good job with the conference. The Journey of 1,000 Miles starts with just your first step. And I think Kada was asking bittersweet in terms of when Joseph was explaining his journey, but I think he clarified that. So audience, feel free at this point to come in to ask us a question that you may have, or to even share your own research journey, what it has been like for you as a researcher. Not seeing the hands as yet. So while I wait on the hands to go up, all right, so Joseph, we have a question here for you. What advice do you have for PhD or doctoral students?
Okay, the advice for doctoral or PhD students. First thing I want to tell you that the journey, you cannot do it alone. The journey, on that journey, you cannot do it alone. And therefore, you have to have some support group. And this is why I would recommend that AGRE is the way to go, because you cannot do it by yourself. You will need that person who you want to call when you're in your difficult times. And I would also tell you that follow every single guideline that your supervisor would give to you. Every single sometimes sometimes you would think that you just can't make it because of what is it that they said to you, but you just have to follow the guidelines. Or if they give you the chapters 50 times, read it 60. Yeah, read it 60. Trust me, because they are the ones. And one of the good things about the research, every move you make, you have to know exactly why you are making this move. And therefore, if you can't justify your action, then your defense is going to be one of the biggest challenge for you, because you have to know exactly why you are making a particular move. So the support system, you have to know the information, know the journal that you're doing, know the technique, the research techniques that you're using. You need to know them. You need to know the research. You need to know the research. Like I say to myself, I know the research like I know myself, I know my children. Because guess what? If you call on me any hours of the night and you say to me, why is it that you did descriptive phenomenology and not interpretive phenomenology, I should be able to tell you that this is the reason why I chose this one over the other. If you ask me, why is it your research is not a case study and it's a phenomenological study? Or why is not autoethnography or ethnography itself? I must be able to say to you that these are the reasons why it cannot be so and it need to be so. So therefore, if you don't know the research, you're going to find yourself in some dark waters. Another thing, even though your supervisor may be saying to you that this is the way to go, although you're going to take this is the way to go, you need to investigate it, because you need to remember that your supervisor is not the one who's going to defend the paper for you. So you have to know exactly why your supervisor tell you to look this way. And therefore, you have to do additional research to find out if this is really the way to go. Or you need to go back and say, Dr. Roof, even though you suggest this, can it go this way? Or can we both look at it from this angle? But you can't just run with something, and then when you run with it, you at the end of the day, you say, Dr. Roof, tell me to do so. Because it's not about what Dr. Roof tell you to do. It's what about you know what to do. And therefore, you have to own the research. You have to own the research. You have to know that you have to make sure that the methodology is strong, because the methodology is one of the areas that really sometimes it takes you a good time to sit down and to really understand that aspect of the research itself. And again, I will not overemphasize, but if you don't have a friend along this road, you will call it quit at any time. And the research seminars that the universities have, you know that I am in this program for a good while and I never miss one of those sessions. I try to be in all those seminars, every single seminar that they have, and all those, if they put out a bulletin to say that there's an oral exam going on, I try to make sure that I'm in that oral because I would like to know some of the questions that they will be asking. I would like to know, how is it that the person is defending and what is it that they are defending? So I try to attend the oral, the upgrades, all the MPhil upgrades. I try to be a part of those because listening to those, you don't know at your time, what will happen. So I try to be a part of those. Everything that the School of Education does, I think you need to just immerse yourself in all those activities.
Okay, I think I definitely can relate as well, Joseph, as you spoke about having that critical friend. In my first year, I had a task to do, and I found myself reading quite a bit, but I am so accustomed to talking about what I am reading or discussing so as to get the ideas of colleagues. And what I found was that while reading, I was so lonely because I didn't have anybody to share the thoughts with. It was just like everything from my brain to paper. And so I do agree with you that having that critical friend is important. At that time, I reached out to Kadia, and she's online now. And so having those critical friends who are so inclined to talk you through your research, to ask you questions, I do agree with you, Joseph, that those people are important. One of the things I would also like to hear about from the other two panelists is what drives you as an individual to do research. So yes, you're pursuing or you have pursued higher education, but do you have that innate drive to do research? Camille spoke about having that childlike curiosity, but as an adult, how do you motivate yourself with work, other responsibilities and obligations? How do you motivate yourself to do research?
All right, so you mentioned childlike curiosity. I may be an adult, but I still have it. It's just my quest to know. I am very curious. I have to know. My dad is here. He can tell you. You could not hide anything from me, because you just have to. That's how that helped me. You couldn't just tell me something. I remember somebody saying when I was younger, if you eat ackee, it will poison you. And you can't tell me something like that. You have to tell me how. How is it gonna, what is it gonna do? So having that curiosity, and I still do, and that is what drives me today. That childlike wonder, that curiosity, that is what still drives me today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Camille. Adlai, what motivates you despite all the responsibilities that you have?
I lost a part of the question. I heard
Sure.
despite.
So I know you're a very busy man. You are a principal at a primary school, and I know that you're heavily involved in activities. How do you get yourself motivated outside of your studies? How do you get yourself motivated to do research, and why?
So I think one of the propelling things would have been an interest in the area that the research is being done. So it must be something relevant. It must be something that you as a researcher have an interest in. I like what Mr. Mackenzie said, and I'm going to just allude to it a little bit, in that just as how you would need to know the research as a PhD candidate to defend it and so on, knowing the research and having an interest in that particular topic or area would lend itself to motivating you to getting it complete. When you hit those hurdles, when you come upon challenges, it will definitely motivate you because it is something that you want to do, you desire this. And so I think that's a motivating factor for me mostly. So my research will always have an element of education in it because that's my interest, that's my area. And I just always want to find a way how I can impact, whether it's staff, the stakeholders, especially students, and so research will be centered around that for me. For other persons, it might be something else. It might be community-based, it might be religion, it might be something in another area. But as I said, interest is a motivating factor.
Okay, all right, thank you, Adeline. So I want to
For
wrap
me
up this.
though, I can tell you,
Okay,
I just want
sure.
to slip in right here. For me, teaching at the colleges, you have to mark research for these students.
Mhm.
And therefore, if you don't understand the process, you're going to have a trouble, guiding those students. And for me, when I finished the master's at UWI, I was given a course to teach research methods to some of their undergraduate students in literacy. And I believe that even though I have completed the master's, in my opinion, I don't think I was ready to even go into some of the intricacies of what research was all about. And I say to myself that, I now need to go and do some retooling or to get some of those edges sharpened. And that was all, I applied to do research to do the PhD, because I want to know more about if I'm to guide a student in both qualitative, whether action research or quantitative research, I should have that expertise that nobody should question what is it that I do. And therefore, I believe at the time when I'm guiding those students, I was not as sharp as how I should. And I believe that I have to take, whether it's a research course or I have to do something else to sharpen the skills in research. And that is where the energy, that energy flows. So I now have to get ready to take on the whole research process.
Okay, interesting perspective. And I think that is perhaps a topic that we could look at for one of our PDs in terms of those who are teaching research or supervising research.
Excellent.
Because having worked at the Teachers College as well, that was a part of my responsibilities. And I do share that experience that you have, because these were individuals who were now looking to you as an individual who is supposed to know what to do in research. So I totally agree with that. And perhaps we should explore that a bit more. But there's a question for Camille that's coming from Shanique. And Camille, Shanique wants to know, what lessons have you learned from publishing, and to what extent did it improve your research competence?
All right, so I haven't published, like, not a peer-reviewed journal article, but I do blog writing. So, and this, and I would encourage all researchers to do it, because your research basically means nothing if you are the only one who understands what is on that paper that you have presented. If you can't communicate your ideas effectively, I remember when I was doing my program, I had to have a dictionary, because some of the ideas, some of the words being used, I'm not afraid to say, I don't know what they mean. And Karif is laughing. I'm pretty sure he knows what I'm talking about.
Trust me, I know.
Right. So I would encourage you to blog. If you can't you need to be able to break down your ideas, your findings into simple terms, something that the layman can understand. My research area is climate change education. It's something that we all, there's 7 billion of us on the planet. That is something that is relevant to all of us. I need to make sure my findings are can be understood by everyone, basically. So I would, that is how it has helped me in blogging, being able to communicate to everyone. And I'd encourage, I hear Joseph and Adlai, and they're passionate about what they're doing. I'm sure other persons here, you're passionate, but if you're not able to relay those ideas to the person outside, if you could, it would make the world of difference. So that's how it has helped me.
Thank you. Yes,
Someone is asking to share the blog.
the blog. Yes. So we
Okay.
will definitely share it. We'll share it through the mailing list that we have, and we will also share it in the WhatsApp group. And I totally agree with you, Camille, as it relates to starting where you are in terms of getting others to understand. And what I have found in writing, and if people know me well, they would know that I don't necessarily claim to know it all, but they may feel as if I know it all because I'm heading AGRE, for example, and they may be intimidated. But it's really a journey, it's really a process. I started by writing letters to the editor. That is how my writing started. And the moment you see your name published somewhere, whether it's going to be online or in the print, then it means that you have another level of confidence to go and to do something else. So I totally agree with you that it's about starting where you are. One of the last questions, well, the last question I want to ask each of you, and hopefully you can respond in 30 seconds. What is that one tip that you would give to AGRE members, that you would give to researchers who are online, who are not AGRE members, but they have an interest, but they're fearful? What is that one tip that you would give to persons on the platform about research and being a researcher? Who will take that one first? So this is my wrap-up question for all three panelists. And Kadia, while you're thinking about it, Kadia is saying that writing starts with reading. Totally agree with you, Kadia. Reading is important. I had to invest in some books over the Christmas because I know my supervisors, they're not playing with me because they're going to give you some questions that you have to read on. So totally agree, Kadia. So that one tip that you'd like to leave with the attendees this afternoon as it relates to being a researcher?
One tip that I would give to the AGRE member and others who are out there is to get started. Once you start, then there is no turning back because the support is there. And I was a part of AGRE a long time ago, and I don't know what happened along the way. Dr. Ruth would tell you, started, but I don't know what happened along the way. But as long as you get started, the journey, you will complete the journey. If you just sit back and hold and say to yourself that it's a difficult road, or nothing will come of that. So you just have to get started. Just start the process. As long as you put pen and paper together, start the process and you will be on your way. Trust me, because the support will be there. I love this group and I see all the group really interact, so I know that the support will be there.
Great, thank you, Joseph. Camille?
Right. What I want to leave is something similar to what Joseph said, but I want to share where I got this bit of information from. I think I mentioned before that researchers need to be able to glean information from, or wisdom from, everything around them. This bit I got from a cartoon. I have a daughter, she's 5. And for those of us who have young children, you know that you will sometimes get stuck watching these cartoons. And it's a line in a song, one of those Disney flicks, they burst out in song all the time. It says, it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be. And I think I mentioned it, with sometimes procrastinating, we have these unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and we think that we have ideas rattling around and we say, all right, it don't sound good. If it don't sound good, I'm not going to put it down. And we continue like that until we have nothing. So you have to start, and then you need to remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be. It needs to exist. Once you put it on paper, then you can build on it. When we look at great inventions, they weren't perfect. We look at where the airplane is coming from. Over the years, researchers have built on the ideas, those what we would think of as primitive ideas from the past, and then persons are able to build on. So it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be.
Thank you so much, Camille. Very powerful Adlai, what is your one tip that you'd like to leave with the members?
So the one tip that I would want to leave is just to expound on what Mr. McKinsey and Mrs. Clark said earlier. It's just a segue to what they have already said, because I'm in agreement with them, and to also say to researchers, AGRE members, that you don't have to be perfect, right? Yes, but always come with an open mind. Approach research from an open mind, knowing that you are definitely going to learn something, and along the way, you'll find it to be a fulfilling journey. So, as Mr. Clark would have said earlier, that persons might think that he knows everything, but it's through research, it's through reading that he would find information and is able to disseminate the same. So, to all of us, just know that throughout the process, come with an open mind, and you're going to definitely learn a lot of things along the way. Every time you do a part of the research or you take on another section is something new that you're looking forward to discover learning.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, panelists. We had this evening a talk with Adlai. Adlai is a student at UWI. He's pursuing his master's in educational leadership and management. We had Camille as well sharing her journey with us. And I will say that these are just aspects of their journeys. I'm pretty sure there's more that we can glean from them. But Camille is a graduate of UWI who pursued curriculum and instruction. And we have Joseph, excuse me, Joseph, who is pretty much complete with his doctoral degree in teacher education. Thank you so very much for sharing your respective journeys. Of course, we continue the conversation. We continue to engage each other. We continue to learn from each other. And we are very deliberate when we talk about a journey. When we talk about a journey, it is not when it comes to an end, but a process. It's about learning from, moving from one stage to the next. And so we know that your research journey is not at an end, even after a PhD degree. It's about learning, it's about sharing, it's about understanding more. So we want to encourage all of you to start your journey if you have not started, to continue your journey, and to start where you are. And I will take what Camille said. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. Thank you so very much, panelists, for that. At this time, we're going to go to our second half of the session, which is a Lyme. And we're having this Lyme, or this social, pretty much, because we've not necessarily had one since the pandemic. We would normally have a wrap session after each PD when we're face-to-face. So we're trying to get to know each other a bit more, to interact with each other a bit more in the virtual space. So what we're going to do, we have 3 brief activities that we want to share with you and that would like you to participate in. So what I'm going to do in short order, I will be creating breakout rooms. So in each room, I'll assign about 4 persons max for you to, in about 3 minutes, pretty much, get to know each other, get to find out something interesting about the persons with whom you will be placed in a respective group, and then we'll come back to the main room. So that will take us about 3 minutes. I will be assigning you randomly to the breakout rooms. There we go. So it's about getting to know each other in each breakout room, because we want us to understand each other a bit more, to learn more about each other. All right. And then we'll come back to the main room. All right. So here we go. 3 minutes on the clock.
That in this space. At this time, you know, mindful of the Friday evening and so on, we want to do a little thing that requires people to get up. And I know you might say, oh, I'm tired, but that's exactly why you need to get up. So I want you to just think of any letter of the alphabet, any letter, and the first letter I see in the chat is the letter that we're gonna go with. So just type a, all right, so C it is. Okay, so we're gonna go with the letter C. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And within 30 seconds, all right, that sound, all right, let me give you 1 minute because it means you have to go around your house. So within 30 seconds, you are going to try, oh, Mr.
Hold
1
on,
minute.
Kadia,
Yes.
just before, do we need the cameras on for this activity?
No, because, you know, people may not be in their Friday best. So, you know, you're free to keep it on if you want us to see you scurrying around trying to get some things, right? I full disclosure, I'm in my bed. I had a very long day of working at the computer, so my back is killing me, right? But anyway, so you're gonna have 1 minute to collect as many items beginning with the letter C in your house. So I'm going to start the clock. Mr. President, can you bring up a clock for us, please? I'd like 1 minute on the clock, and you can't leave yet, you can't move yet. So all those people who turned off their cameras are ready to start. That is cheating. Fantastic. 1 minute.
We're still here.
Yes, thank you so much, Joseph. Great. 1 minute on that clock for me, please, Mr. President. Fantastic. So just to recap, you're going to, you know what, let me get up here because you think it's, oh, no, not beat me. What can I say? All right. I'm up. So we're going to see how many items in our house, beginning with the letter C, we can amass. Beginning now. Go, Carrie.
How much if you carry? Much to look for?
So there's no limit. So you
As
find
many as you can in the time.
This one? Yeah.
So I guess we would just see that. Sellotape, see. Key, this is a key, not see key. Candle.
No, baby. Oh, you going?
What were you gonna say? I think that'll be
Hold on there.
Cream, and the cream. Sweet. Come on, sweetie. You can see. Oh, candy. We have nothing more.
6 seconds, counting down. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cream. Done.
Okay. That was harder than you thought, don't it?
One.
All right. So who thinks that they got the most items? If you think you got the most items, raise your hand.
Yes, I am here.
We need evidence.
Yes.
Remember now, this is a research group. It's all about evidence.
I have my evidence here.
Come, let's see the data that you collected, Joseph.
Right, you know already. I have cotton.
Hold on there, Joseph. Make us see the cotton. All right, cotton. Boy, Joseph, forceful, sir.
Candy.
No, sir.
Candle. I have creamer.
Who is counting? How much we gone? 4?
That's 4.
I have cream, a bottle of jar of cream.
Joseph, that is lotion.
No, man, it's cream. That's what it is. Look at it good, not lotion, this one. I have cartridge paper.
No, Joseph, I feel you had a research assistant.
No. I have sellotape.
No.
They're not foreign. I have a cap, a cup. hard.
All right, people. What
I'll
we
stop
saying?
counting. I'll stop
Camera.
counting.
Stop. All right, Joseph. You have it. 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 And thank you for those who participated. I only managed to get 4 things: a container, a little candle, chain, charger. Wait, Camellia, go on to man. But thank you so much for your willingness to participate. Yes, Joseph went, don't it? Joseph, I believe that there was a research assistant somewhere there, you know.
I don't know if it's because it's Friday and my brain tends not to work on a Friday, but I saw C and I said, this is not going to be hard. And then I heard somebody said it. This is harder than it looks. I could only find 2 things.
Actually is.
And
But
then
the minute you're working against time, it becomes more difficult.
And I remembered the cat outside, and I said, you know what? It's gonna take more than a minute to catch him. So I could only find 2 things.
I ran to the kitchen and take up the scissors, and I went up coming back. I said, but the scissors is not see.
I couldn't find the curry. I was looking for the curry. I couldn't find it.
Wow. No, yes, Eloise, Joseph only has C things at home. I agree. I agree. But thank you all for participating so eagerly on this Friday evening. Mr. President, over to you, sir.
Thank you so very much for that, Kadia, and thank you so very much for participating, colleagues. So it was a brief activity, but we hope that we have ended on a very good note, with some energy for you to have a laugh as you go this Friday evening. So thank you once again for joining us. Of course, we will keep the conversation going. We will continue to share resources with each other. In the WhatsApp group, we shared a flyer where a research assistant is needed at UE. So if you're so interested, please submit your application. And it's about starting. It really is about starting, colleagues, and it's about learning on the way. Being a research assistant means that you will have someone to guide you and you will develop on your own skills. So wishing you all the best on your respective journeys. And trust me, do not be afraid to start. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. All the best.